to share some very interesting things and surprising things based on Amazon. They're really almost kind of taking over the world, and I'm not even saying that lightly. I'm just going to share with you what's going on, and you guys tell me what you think, okay? But there's a lot of stuff going on with Amazon right now. But let's go back to the beginning. Tell me, who remembers when Amazon, all they did was sell books? Who remembers that?
I remember.
You do? Yeah. All they sold was books. Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't very long ago.
It wasn't very long ago, right?
Right.
Did you buy most of your books on Amazon or from Amazon?
I believe in the library first.
Okay. Okay. What did you think when you heard Amazon is now selling books online? What did you think?
Well, once the virus started, I was thrilled because then I knew I could still have a supply of books. But before that, I really felt like at this point in my life, I don't need to accumulate any more books.
Right.
I might have to wait a little bit longer to get them from the library, but it's okay.
Okay, good. Who else was there in the early days of Amazon buying books? Were you Jay or are you Joan?
Yeah, no, I remember I used to live in Seattle.
Oh.
I was in Seattle in the days when Amazon started out of Microsoft.
Okay, all right, that's great. Tell us more.
Well, it was an interesting model even for books.
Mm-hmm.
The thought that you could do this in some centralized way and do it more cheaply. I mean, that's the key to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Do.
hello. Hello.
What about you, Joan? What do you remember from the early days of Amazon?
Just about nothing.
Huh?
Just about nothing.
Nothing?
I think it'll be bad.
I don't buy new books usually.
Okay.
I have a wonderful source for good used books called abebooks.com.
Okay.
Headquartered in England, but the books come most of
Good, just like that.
Yeah.
Really? ABE books. Okay.
I just remember here.
Okay.
That could be on now.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So here's the thing. So you guys do remember Amazon. I remember Amazon. Like that's all they did was books.
Yeah.
And to see where they are today and where they're headed is going to blow your mind, because it's hard to imagine a book company going into the different sectors and fields and dominating the way Amazon is dominating. I haven't seen this happen really in this type of way ever. Books and technology and going to different market sectors. It's very different. I mean, and this is a new way of doing business now, that companies are not just sticking with one thing. They're branching off into different areas, we're seeing that with Apple. I think Apple was I'd say Apple and Virgin were the first ones to really create something new, where business plans, you always laid out what you're going to do the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And it was always in one sector. Then Virgin and Apple went into different sectors, which is something new. And now all companies are starting to follow that trend. So we'll see, is it a good thing? Is it not a bad thing? I don't know. It's very interesting, though, to see that. It's very risky, though, Apple started out as a computer company, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And where did they branch off to? How did they dominate different markets? Which markets did they dominate after? Telephone? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who was the leader in telephones when Apple decided to get into it?
AT&T? AT&T?
No, AT&T was a provider. But
no.
Angie, you should know.
The Finnish company.
Yes. Nokia.
What's the name again?
Nokia.
Nokia, right.
Nokia.
Yeah.
To be able to go in where Nokia owned the market and literally push them out of the way is incredible, because that was not their market. The other market sector they went into, it was owned by Sony, which is the portable devices, listening to music.
Yes.
That's another one where they just said, here we are, and move those guys out of the way. Mm-hmm. So it's just incredible to see companies do that. What Amazon is doing is pretty much the same thing, but doing it on a much bigger scale. So we're going to check that out, okay? Joan, you want to say something?
No.
Isn't it interesting though? Because, you know, the way that business schools, they don't teach you this. They teach you how to dominate a market, stay in there, right? And you kind of grow from that field. But to go into a completely different field, that's crazy. But to dominate it is even crazier, I think. It's so risky. But now shareholders are getting used to that, and they're giving companies and CEOs a leeway to go and spend money and explore, and sometimes you're going to win and sometimes you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Amazon has had their share of losses where they spent tens of millions of dollars where it just didn't do very well. So we'll kind of go into that. So I want to show you a little trailer, kind of set the tone of Amazon and who Jeff Bezos is, okay? So hold on one second. I'm going to do this. We're going to watch quite a few videos here, but they're always a few minutes long. So we'll start with this. Okay, can everyone see that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't see it.
All right, here we go. So a few minutes.
I'm Jeff Bezos.
What is your claim to fame?
I'm the founder of Amazon.com.
Intensely focused on scaling up.
Most important longer-term thinker alive.
The world's most customer-obsessed company ever.
Big things start small.
This February,
everything that is admirable about Amazon is also something that we should fear about it.
Frontline investigates Amazon.
No one ships more orders than Amazon.
How much market share does Amazon want? They want all of it.
Is Amazon a monopoly?
I would argue that Amazon is so dominant that it warrants antitrust scrutiny.
Amazon was not simply going to be an e-commerce platform, but an invisible infrastructure that powers our everyday lives.
We started working on this device.
Alexa. This data collection is extremely important to this business model. Convincing people to just deploy something like this in their home, it's a brilliant trick to achieve that.
From the award-winning team of The Facebook Dilemma.
What Jeff Bezos is after is really creating a company that is the infrastructure, that owns the infrastructure for how commerce is done.
Frontline examines the richest man in the world.
Richest guy in the world, and he's got employees on food stamps.
We're not treated as human beings. We're not even treated as robots. We're treated as part of the data stream.
You just go and go and go, and if you're not keeping up with your rate, they correct it rapidly. These workers are being watched on a level that I don't think people understand.
Do any of the concerns about power resonate with you?
We believe strongly that we're good for the economy, we're good for the American workforce, and we're obviously good for consumers.
The internet is disrupting every media industry. People can complain, but complaining is not a strategy.
In what world are there no critics? In an autocratic, totalitarian world, maybe they're not allowed. Bezos clearly thinks he answers to no one.
He bought the Washington Post to have political influence.
Transforming itself from seller to creator.
It helps us sell more shoes.
We're increasingly living in a world in which your designs are there. Can you see how it could be concerning in some ways that we all can't opt out of that world at this point?
The reality of it is that world happened way before Ring or Alexa.
Some people are asking if Amazon is a monopoly.
The question for the democracy is, are we okay with one company essentially winning capitalism?
A 2-hour special presentation.
There's a lot of people questioning the size and power of Amazon. How do you and Jeff think about the call to break you guys up?
Simply because the company's been successful doesn't mean it's somehow too big.
Amazon Empire.
Is Amazon taking over the world a good thing?
Domination was very much the idea.
All right. Okay, that was by Frontline, by the way. I like Frontline.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
Would you do that?
What?
Would you do that again?
You know, it's interesting though, right? It's really eye-opening that a book company, that's hardly their business now. I mean, they still sell books, but really they're looking to dominate the consumer world, basically. And, you know, so I'll tell you a couple of things. You heard the word monopoly, right? So I did some digging, and their top leaders, senior executives, or actually trained, and they're not allowed to use the word monopoly, and they're not allowed to use the word capital share. They can't use capital share. So they say they have to use capital segment. They're not, these are the words that their lawyers created. So why would they go that far? I don't know. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But this is their training that they go through. So I was very interested in Amazon. So I did work for Amazon a couple of months because I really wanted to know what is this. Yeah, a couple of years back, I worked there for a couple of months because I wanted to get inside and find out how does it work and how does it run. And it's very interesting. So they're very, very thorough. This is one of probably the most thorough companies I've ever worked for. Nothing slides through the cracks. You know, we work a lot of places, some things, not with this company. Their training is very spot on. They offer a pretty good wage, I guess, if you can say. It's $15 an hour. So I guess it's kind of in the middle, I guess. It's kind of hard to make a living on that, but you know. The way that you create your own schedule. So they give you a block of 6 hours and they give you kind of 3 choices. And online you go and you pick the schedule that you want to work. So that's pretty interesting. They kind of give you freedom. There is no punching a clock. When you go in, you have to show your badge and then you go through these gates because everyone has to go through these gates because they don't want anyone stealing things, right? And then they give you a kind of like a handheld computer. And that handheld computer, you're going to punch in your code. And that's how you log in and out. You don't go to a time clock and you don't anything. And once that thing is on, you're on the clock. And it's all based on productivity. So they'll give you a number of how many things that you have to do within that hour. And it's tracked. So yeah, it's incredible. So when you want to go to lunch or break, you have to go and punch in those numbers. And it'll tell you how long you've been on break. If you've been on break too long, it's incredible. So that's why the guy said they kind of treat you like a robot because everything is done based on data. Everything is data. Everything is tracked. They know what you're doing, how long you've been doing it, where you were doing it at. So their main thing is productivity. But they're very organized. Everything is color coded. Everything is ABC, has letters. It's really interesting. But to be honest with you, I don't know how people can work there because I was beat. I was so tired at the end of the day because you're constantly moving. The only time you're not moving is when you're on break. So they're big on productivity. So there are pluses and minuses. Jay, you want to say something?
What did you do?
I worked at some fulfillment center. I did that kind of part-time. And it was a fulfillment center here in San Diego. And also,
what term are you using?
So it's fulfillment. So basically, every time you order something, Amazon Prime or whatever, you actually have people go and pick those orders up and put it into a box, and then the computer kind of packages it up. So that's still done manually. So if you're ordering toothpaste, let's say you go on and you ran out of toothpaste, you go and order 2 boxes of toothpaste, that order will go through the nearest facility. Since we're in San Diego, we'll probably go to the San Diego facility. Someone will go and find that order, right? Scan it, and then put it into a box, and then they'll ship it out to you. So the people are the ones who are picking up the items that go and have to go out to everyone.
Well,
What's that, Gail?
Well, I was going to say, I don't believe if you worked there over more than 2 months, that you would continue to be that tired, because my own experience is starting any new job, you're so hyper alert to trying to figure things out, and gradually you find ways to work the system at least a little bit so that it's more comfortable for you. I mean, I just think that that's one of my specialties when I worked was work stress issues. And so I became very aware that pattern is not just me, that other people are looking for that all the time. That's part of their adjustment to any job. So I would think if you were there over 6 months, you would get much smarter about how to protect yourself from some of that. And how to make it work better for you, because you're a smart guy and you know how to take care of yourself.
Right, yeah.
Now, some of it is absolutely in stone. I understand that, and you can't change it. But I still think you would find some ways to take better care of yourself as you went on and you just 2 months isn't very long at all.
Right. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of like I just kind of wanted to see how things were. It's a physically taxing job. I don't do physically taxing things. So, and you're constantly moving for 6 hours, only with I think a 30-minute break and then a 15-minute break. So imagine constantly lifting, moving back and forth for that amount of time every single day, 5 days a week. So they have a high turnover rate because of that, and they also have a high injury rate. That's one of the downfalls is with the company is that, you know, a lot of employees say that they get injured on the job. So,
you know, I'm surprised that they cannot, that they still need people for that. Like AI would be the perfect thing for that, you know, something like that. It's that you just get the robots, you know, the real robots.
They probably will eventually figure that out, Angie.
Yeah.
I think.
As a point of interest, Anthony, what did you actually physically do? You got something? What did you do?
So there, basically, when you go in, you pick up a computer and it'll tell you every single item that needs to be picked and shipped for that day. So my thing is to go to where that item is, pick it up, put it into a box, and then the box would go ahead and move to the next level. So I took things, you can imagine taking things off the shelf. Does that make sense, Jay?
Yeah, no, I'm surprised also that it isn't automated.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think eventually it will be, you know, I think eventually it will be. I don't know. There's so many orders though, you guys. Maybe the computers will be running into each other. Who knows? I'm sure they'll figure that out because yeah, it's a lot of orders per day. There's hundreds. I think sometimes you have 200 orders that you have to fulfill during a 6-hour shift. So Gail, you were talking about like how it's physically taxing to get 200 orders. And the hard part is that you really can't make a mistake because that's going to be costly if you're sending the wrong item to the wrong person. So there's the stress of that as well. So it's really interesting. But let's talk about Amazon, right? We talked about it as being a book company. So it's not a book company anymore. I don't even know how, a lot of people don't know how to describe this company because it's in so many different sectors. They own about 40 to 50 private planes. Amazon has their own planes. Hey, David.
Hi, guys.
How you doing? Good. Did you guys know that Amazon has 40 to 50 cargo planes? Okay, that shows you what kind of scope that we're dealing with. So their plane fleet is bigger than a lot of small developing countries' fleets. They have more planes than a lot of countries, smaller countries. They have a goal of owning 70 planes by 2021, 70 planes. So they don't have to worry about anything. They go straight to where their landing pad is, put those things in, the plane will take it to wherever they want to go. They're in 108 different countries, you guys. Amazon is in 108 different countries. So they are one of the largest employers. They employ about 840,000 employees. So it's almost a million employees. So they are a major player in this game. It is the first, it's the second company to be worth $1 trillion. The second company to reach a market cap of $1 trillion. Okay, this is unheard of, right? I mean, companies just, you know, billions, sure, we're used to that, but $1 trillion, no way. Who do you think is the first company to reach that?
Apple?
Yes, yeah, Apple was the first one. And then Amazon a few months later, very good. So we're heading into a different world now. They own 100,000 electric freight trucks. So the thing is that they're not outsourcing. They're not worried about using other people's services. They create their own. They need planes. They're not going to go ahead and go to American Airlines or UPS. They're going to own their own fleet and take care of it. So this is the power that they have. But when you're $1 trillion company, I think you can do that. The way that they got there is that Bezos is really interesting. I'm going to do a PowerPoint about him. But for 20 years, Amazon didn't turn a profit. Did you guys know that? I don't know if you're aware of that. For 20 years? Yeah, you didn't know that? David, you knew that? Okay. How is that even possible, David and Naomi?
We used to laugh at it was selling for more than it was worth.
He was selling for 40 times last year's deficit. How can a company like that go? Well, he went after market share. He said market share, market share, market share, and you can't make a profit when you're doing it. And he looked for the long term.
Yeah, and he had. Yeah, really, we did. But now it's starting to really pay off, and I'll show you how it's paying off. But really, to tell investors, hold out, don't worry about profits for 20 years, that's insane, you know. But he was building an infrastructure for the future. So I like the way he thinks. He was building for the future. Okay. So if Amazon shares, does anyone know how much they are right now? One share? Okay. So the latest as of this today was $2,986 per share. Almost $3,000 for one share, you guys. Okay. That's what makes him he's the richest person in America, in the world, really. Bezos is worth $183 billion. So again, he's the first person to be worth over $100 billion, one individual. So it's just mind-blowing because we were talking, David, you guys missed it, and Dixie, hi, that we remember when it was just a book company. It was not that long ago. And to see the growth in such a short period of time is astronomical.
When
really
was it founded?
1997, I think it was. I think around that. 1994, something like that.
Okay.
Let's see. So I do have a PowerPoint to show you. So let me jump into here. Okay. I think there is another video, but I'll go into the PowerPoint. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I'm gonna have to go get the PowerPoint. Let's watch this for now. Let's see. Get this. All right. Let's take a look inside of Amazon, kind of how it works. This is about 2 minutes.
In the Capel Amazon Fulfillment Center. This building is just over 1 million square feet and employs over 900 full-time hourly associates. The robot behind me is called RoboStow, and this is a 6-ton robotic arm that lifts pallets of items 24 feet onto a second platform. You have Amazon Robotics. Those particular machines weigh over 700 pounds, and they can lift up to 3,000 pounds of customer items. The Amazon Robotics are really fascinating to watch. They're moving on a field of QR codes. They have motion sensors, so there's a couple of times where it looks like, oh, are they going to run into each other? They're not. They're very smart. They know not to run into each other. And they're just moving the items around, and it is really interesting to watch these guys work in action. That's a packing station, and that's where once an item has been picked with the Amazon Robotics, and then associates will pull those totes, they'll pack them up into boxes, put in all the packaging, the padding needed to make sure they get to your house in one piece. So this is the SLAM line, and SLAM stands for Scan, Label, Apply, and Manifest. It does not mean that a label is being slammed onto your item. It basically is the first point that a customer label and mailing address is being added to the box. Packing customer boxes into the back of a truck is a lot like playing a game of Tetris. We don't want to pack air. Air is expensive, it's heavy. We'd much rather pack it to the brim with customer items.
All right, so that's just kind of a glimpse into that. Thank you, guys. Give me a...
They used to have people, let people do that job of getting the box and fitting stuff into the box.
Yeah, so those columns that you see, people have to put those things in. Everyone has their own column, so you put those things in, and then the robotic will take it to where it needs to be put into the box. So you don't really need, it's kind of 50-50 in terms of having manpower and computers, and that probably will phase out eventually once they figure out how to get those robots to put those things into the columns and stuff. But for now, I mean, it's good because we need employees, right? And they're still employing people.
That sounds like it would be a very complex job to figure out a box. If you got 10 items you want to put in a box, to figure out which box to use.
Yeah, Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's kind of why, I mean, they're all trained in terms of how to, you know, size and everything else and what goes into what. That all comes part of the training. So David, you guys came in kind of late. So I worked at Amazon for like 2 or 3 months just to kind of find out how this thing works and what's going on in the company. So it's really interesting. And, you know, so Jay was asking, you know, why don't they have AI doing this work? Or, you know, they have the capability, but you kind of still need humans and manpower on to fulfill some certain things that robots can't do, but eventually they probably will go to full AI perhaps. But, you know, yeah. All right, I do have a PowerPoint. Give me a second, you guys. Let me see if I can get this here.
When I was a kid, we used to have to pack things in a bag. Didn't have the foresight to see where that could go.
You know, there's some things that AI still can't do that humans can do. You know what I mean? So because anything that AI does will have to be taught, will have to be programmed. And right now, it's easier to tell a human, this is what you need to do, and go out and execute that. So, but give me a second. Let me see if I can get my PowerPoint up. Because I spent some time on this, checking out Jeff Bezos. And let's see. Here we are. Let's see. Inside Amazon. There we are. All right. Can everyone see that?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Hold on. All right, let's see. There we go. But now.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's find out who this person is, because he's very fascinating. I think he's a very fascinating person. Hold on. Gonna have to try this again. Yeah.
You're fascinating too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so here, let's dive into it. So Jeff's mom, Jackie, she was a teenager when she had him. So he's the product of a teenage mom in 1964. So we know how that was back then, right? She married a Cuban immigrant named Miguel Bezos, who adopted Jeff. So he's not Jeff's biological father. Jeff didn't know that this guy Miguel was not his father until he was 10 years old. But in reading his response, they said that he was barely fazed by the news. I thought that's very interesting to tell a 10-year-old that this person who you thought was your father is not your father and not be bothered by it. I thought that was really interesting. So his biological father was a circus performer. Who knew? Okay. So we have to figure out what happened with genetics there, because this guy is a very brilliant guy, but his father was a circus performer. His mom asked him to stay out of Jeff's life when he was only 4 years old. And it wasn't until there's a biography called The Everything Store, autobiography by an author named Brad Stone, who tracked down Jeff Bezos' father and had an interview with him and told him who Jeff Bezos was, that's your son. He hadn't known that. Isn't that crazy? Wow. That you have to be told by this interviewer that Jeff Bezos is your son. That's really interesting. So here are some early influences that he had. His grandfather was a big influence on him, Preston Geist. He rekindled his passion for intellectual pursuits. And then during a 2010 commencement speech, he said that one of the things he taught him was that it's harder to be kind than clever.
Anthony, are we supposed to be seeing your PowerPoint slides?
Oh, you're not seeing it?
No.
Oh, really? Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I did not know that. Let's see. Let's try this again. Hold on. How about now?
Yep.
You are seeing it? Okay.
Yes. There we go.
Okay. So look at the picture on the bottom there. So that's his adopted father, Miguel Bezos, not his real father. And that reminded me of someone else who is very influential, who was adopted too. Does anyone remember?
Say it again.
The fact that Jeff Bezos had to be adopted by a father and someone else, it reminded me of another adoptee that became very influential. Who is that?
Bill Clinton?
Not Clinton, but Steve Jobs.
His daughter.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was also adopted. So they have kind of similarities there. So one of his early influences was Preston Geist. I told you that was his grandfather. He said it's harder to be kind than clever. I thought that was a really interesting thing to say to a young person. But Bezos is a big time Star Trek fan. Do we have any Star Trek fans here?
Sure.
Yeah, I got into Star Trek recently, but one of his favorite characters was Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Kind of looks like him. If you look at that picture on the bottom there, on the right, that kind of looks like Jeff with the bald head and everything. But he got the idea from Alexa from Star Trek when they would say computer and give the computer an assignment. That's where he got the idea for Alexa. I thought that was really cool. So let's talk about Jeff as a student. So he was a smart guy. He once told his teacher, the future of mankind is not on this planet. What kind of kid says that to a teacher? This is how fascinating this guy is, and it kind of gives you an insight into how he thinks, okay? And again, I think future guys who are visionaries, I think they're very different. Their DNA is different. The way they look at the world is different. He got a job at McDonald's as a teen. He got tired of working there and says, hey, why don't we start up a company? And he started up something called the Dream Institute, a 10-day summer camp for kids, charging $600, and got 6 students to sign up. I mean, look. And this is how entrepreneurs think. They just find ways to do things and get things done and to obviously make money. He did go on to Princeton University, which is kind of different from a lot of entrepreneurs. You know, a lot of them are dropouts or just never went to college, but he actually went to Princeton and majored in computer science. And right out of college, he was offered jobs with Intel and Bell Labs, but decided to go the unsafe route and join a company called Fattel. Then later on, this is kind of where he started to shift. He got a job as a hedge fund, D.E. Shaw. And in 4 years, he became a senior vice president in 4 years, okay? So again, this is the type of person that he is. He's very smart and he's a can-do kind of person. He got into ballroom dancing because he figured out that was the best way to meet women, okay? And he's smart because it's like, where are women going? Where is the easiest way? So he's very analytical in how he does things. And so he married Mackenzie Tuttle in 1993. So she worked with him and he kind of fell in love and they got married, had 4 kids together. But then in 1994, he started hearing about this thing, the internet. And he wanted to find out, how do I get in there? He knew that it had potential. So he made a list of 20 possible products that he can sell online and decided books were the best option. And that's how Amazon was born. What a smart guy to take out a list and say, let me figure this out. What could sell best? What are my best chances? And let me go for it. So this is around the dot-com era. You guys probably do remember that, right? The dot-com era, that was just insane and crazy. The internet went nuts. Okay, so his boss did try to persuade him. He says, hey, Jeff, you're going into something uncertain and you're leaving something where you're doing very well. And he says, he said he'd rather try at a startup than not try at all. I love that. He says, you got to take risks in life. He says, I knew that I might sincerely regret not having participated in this thing called the internet, something that I thought was going to be revolutionizing event. When I thought about it that way, it was incredibly easy to make the decision. So he started Amazon in his garage, just like every other startup around that time. It seems like, Apple was started in garage too. But what's interesting is that he would hold meetings at Barnes and Nobles. I thought that was really interesting. That's really ironic, isn't it? So he launches Amazon, but then the dot-com crash happened, and a lot of companies got wiped out, and they almost got wiped out as well. Books A Million. Do you guys remember Books A Million? Not really. Yeah, kind of. How about Pets.com? You remember that? They were the darling of the dot-com because they got so popular, and then almost overnight they went away. They got wiped out by the whole dot-com crash. And Amazon almost did too. They lost 90% of their value, and they went down to $7 a share. But Bezos was lucky and proactive enough to start laying people off and start cutting back, and that's how they were able to survive the dot-com crash. Otherwise, they would have been gone as well. So early investors had doubts about Amazon, and you know, I did too. I thought I would never think that it would reach the heights that it has. You know, you buy books online and you buy them cheap, so you don't think that this company is going to grow much beyond that, or even take over Barnes and Nobles. You guys remember Barnes and Nobles, right?
Yeah.
They were around since 1932. I would never imagine that Amazon would cut into their market share as much as it did. But during a meeting with Bezos and the CEO, Barnes & Noble chairman, Leo Riche, he told Bezos that he was going to crush Amazon. Okay. Yeah, that's the kind of person I wouldn't make threats to. But Barnes & Noble at the time had hundreds of stores and $2 billion in revenue. Today, they're kind of just hanging on. They got lucky, so they have 627 stores, but they were saved from bankruptcy by being sold to a hedge fund, Elliott Advisors, for $638 million. So had they not gotten, I remember when they started closing stores, and there was a real threat that Barnes & Nobles was going to be gone. I don't know if you guys remember that. But they got lucky. They got saved by this hedge fund. So let's look at Amazon today. Let's look where they are. So so if you bought shares in 1997 when they went, IPO was released, you know, the initial public offering, it was $18 a share. So if you invested $10,000 then, your shares will be worth $12 million as of today. Okay. Of course, it's all hindsight. We don't know, but gosh, those people who got shares early on got really lucky.
Boy, did we screw up.
Now, did you have shares, or were you thinking of getting shares then?
Bruce,
did you own shares? Did you?
No. One or two of our friends, you know, talked about it. We laughed. You know, that's a joke. Look how much money they're losing. They can't possibly be any good.
Yeah.
What a mistake.
And that's hindsight, right? I mean, the same thing with Apple. I remember when Apple was so cheap.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they've gone beyond selling books. Now they're selling everything, and they want to sell everything to you, to me, to the whole world. This is why they're getting into appliances, clothing, and cloud computing. This is what we'll talk about that in a second. I don't know if you guys know, in 2013, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post for $250 million. So he owns that newspaper. So this is someone who is now gaining a lot of clout, a lot of political clout, a lot of clout in consumerism. This is becoming a very powerful person. 20 years after going public, I mentioned that before, they have a market cap of $1.4 trillion. In 2017, they bought Whole Foods for $13.7 billion, okay? When that happened, it really caught my attention, because I'm like, what is a book company, or one that's selling consumer goods, now going into food? Again, this is kind of that domination that they're building.
Yeah.
This is probably one you don't know about, Amazon in space. Who knows that Amazon is going to space?
I heard of it.
You heard of it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even Elon Musk.
Exactly. Those two are kind of head to head right now. So Bezos, and he kept this very quiet. He started a company called Blue Origin. Okay, it's a rocket company. He started in 2000. We didn't hear about it till about 10 years later. That's how hush-hush he kept it. And that makes his company older than SpaceX, which is owned by Elon Musk. So really, Bezos is kind of the first one to publicly create a rocket company. That's very interesting. His goal for creating this is he wants to create an infrastructure for humans to live in space, and he wants to colonize the moon, okay? He's very serious with this. He hopes that his private space company can send paying customers to space in the very near future. Bezos has stated that the company's goal is to help bring about a future in which millions are living and working in space. Okay. All right. He believes to huh?
You told us that when he was a little boy, he said, we're not going to be living on this planet.
Exactly. As a little boy, he said that. And now we're kind of headed there right now. You have talks about Mars and him going to the moon. So he's making it true. He believes that staying on Earth will require rationing and declining opportunities. This is what he says, okay? But the rest of the solar system...
Sounds right to me.
You know, we don't know, but yeah, he's kind of being proactive in terms of this, and because he's kind of seeing where it could head. We don't know, though. He said the rest of the solar system offers virtually limitless resources, and this is what he said, quote, "Do you want stasis or rationing, or do you want dynamism and growth? This is an easy choice. We know what to do. We just have to get busy. Okay. You guys know President Trump just created that whole 5th branch of the military, which is space. Okay. Right. So everything is pointing towards space right now. A lot of things are pointing towards space. So Bezos, in order to keep the company afloat, he has to.
Bezos.
Yeah, I mean, the future is now, right now. He has to sell $1 billion of stock each year to keep the company afloat. $1 billion of stock he has to sell just to keep this Blue Origin afloat. But don't worry. So as of July 21st, the headline, he made the headlines again, July 21st, Jeff Bezos adds $13 billion to his net worth in one day. And it's a record. No one has ever done that in one day.
How rich is he, Anthony?
Very rich.
The 1.4 trillion was the market cap of Amazon, but how much of that is his?
Well, he owns his net worth is $183 billion.
Okay.
Let's talk about his divorce, though. You guys know, I don't know if you knew, he went through a very costly divorce. Okay. Yeah. You're laughing, huh, Naomi? It was embarrassing. Naomi, you're probably laughing because it was embarrassing, wasn't it?
It was stupid.
So it was stupid. He got divorced in 2019 after National Enquirer was going to leak some information that very sensitive information, and they did leak some photos and stuff like that. But after that, National Enquirer got involved. Donald Trump got involved somehow. It became very embarrassing. I would have been embarrassed, but it didn't seem to affect him and not his net worth either. So he had a mistress. Okay, he did have a mistress, and he was whisking her off in his private jet, unbeknownst to his wife. And then once he heard wind that the National, I don't know if this story is true. He said that they tried to extort him. National Enquirer says that's not true. So he published a tell-all blog explaining to the entire world how the National Enquirer was going to exploit him. Very unbecoming of a CEO, but this is what he did. So after 25 years of marriage and 4 kids, she received $38 billion and is one of Amazon's top 4 shareholders. 38 billion, okay, not million, billion. So that settlement made her the 3rd wealthiest woman in the world, okay? And now due to Amazon growth, she's currently the richest woman in the world with $64.5 billion from this divorce settlement.
Is she married?
I don't know, Glenn, but you better get at it. She won't stay single for very long. What I do like is she did join this organization called the Giving Pledge. It's a bunch of billionaires who promise to give away most of their wealth. Warren Buffett is part of it. Bill Gates is part of it. So I like that, so they can give it away to charity while they're alive, or they can will it. So that's one of the organizations she's involved in. So that is Mr. Bezos. Interesting fella, huh? What are your thoughts about him?
How old is he now?
He's in his mid-50s.
Oh my God.
So young still, very young, I think. People think that he's going to slow down because he has so much money, but he's doing just the opposite. He's pushing forward into different areas.
His ego.
His ego? Yeah. Again, is the world better off with Jeff Bezos or without Jeff Bezos? What do you think?
Good question.
A lot of people making $15 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when the only way when we were in a small town that we could get any goods was by Sears catalog.
Yeah, we did that.
And we appreciated Sears catalog.
Yeah.
And to me, I appreciate being able to have some shopping and have it sent to me when it's difficult for me to go. But I don't think my son and daughter-in-law feel the same way about it. They feel like Amazon has too much power and is putting too many little people out of business. So
Yes.
I think should their children belong to Amazon Prime? I don't, but their children, my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. They don't want to give them.
Okay.
They don't want to give such a big business so much more. want to distribute there.
You brought up a good point because you know, you're right. Things are so fast. If you want something, you click and it's at your house in 2 hours. What does that mean? You're right. We don't kind of appreciate, huh?
You need it all the time.
You need it all the time.
You know, you don't really. I mean, you know, I try to get away from Amazon a little bit, but it's hard, you know, especially Whole Foods. You know, I always like the products. Since he took over, he changed the store. The quality has changed, and still I'm new to this area, so I still have to find the little stores. You know, it's
right.
I prefer those stores, and I like to buy in person.
Yes.
But I understand people who are in small villages or whatever. It's good for them. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have a car anymore.
Anthony?
Yeah, go ahead.
It makes it different.
Is he inclined to do anything about that $15 an hour for the employees?
You know, they were one of the first companies to offer more. So now that the national wage is going up, I'm not sure where they're going to head. That was one of the critiques against them, is that they could offer more. But their rebuttal was that we were one of the first ones to offer it, and they do offer good benefits, I guess. You also get discounts, you know, so, but yeah, it's hard to make a comfortable living, I would imagine, on $15 an hour, you know.
In Texas, you know, I think they have a very, very bad reputation in Europe because they are not paying their taxes. You know.
Good.
That's right.
In Ireland, and they evade, you know, and
You're right. You're right. So they I don't know about now, but it's from 2017, 2018, they paid no taxes, you guys, from before. But it's part of, you know, what they do is they're reinvesting the profits, so that allows them to not pay any capital taxes. But that's a lot of money that the government is losing out on. It was a Republican plan from 2017. And all these companies are doing it. Apple has 3 offshore companies in Ireland. I mean, what is Apple doing with headquarters in Ireland? But that's how they're able to not pay these taxes, because they have 3 off subsidiaries in Ireland. And I think that needs to change, because that's almost, you know, billions and billions of dollars that are leaving the American people in the economy. So why do you think the government does that? Why do you think they're giving them such rebates? Let's talk about just Amazon here, because there is a reason that they say they're doing this. Why do you think that is?
Who's buying the government?
Well, yeah. But, you know, there always has to be a reason. So what do you think the reason they're giving for that?
People want that pure capitalism, and that's their goal.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel like they should share any of their wealth to take care of people, their other employees, or they would raise their salaries and say, we can stand to have $1 billion less profit.
So capitalism is a big thing, huh?
I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. And Jay, what were you going to say, Jay?
Well, I'm thinking that, first of all, you know, there are about 2,000 hours in a year at 40 hours per week.
Oh.
And so it's $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in today's dollars, they put out of business mom and pop stores in the, you know, in the tens of thousands, maybe the hundreds of thousands.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very mixed thing.
You're right.
It's at the heart of Bernie Sanders, you know, talking about the 1% at the top have more money than the bottom 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the result of it. This is the way you can view it.
Mm-hmm.
There was something, and I'm not sure exactly what, that Trump was angry with the U.S. Post Office because they were accommodating something for Jeff Bezos.
Mm-hmm.
So
They weren't charging enough money, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
They weren't charging enough money to send packages around.
Oh.
Is that what you remember, Naomi?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he sure doesn't like voting by mail.
He doesn't like the Washington Post. Does not give him very good coverage.
No. Okay, here's a couple of points that I want to make. First of all, David, is that a conflict of interest to have him owning the Washington Post? What do you think? Is that?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Why not?
What if he runs for office? Do you think that would be a conflict of interest then?
Nope.
You don't?
I think he'd put everything in a blind test.
Unlike some people.
Unlike some people. Because
if he did not do that, then I think it would definitely be a conflict of interest.
Okay. Because I do kind of foresee him getting into politics. I don't know. I get that feeling. Do you guys? Does anyone feel that or no?
I don't have that.
No, you think he'll stay out of it? Okay. So
I think he's making more money this way.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah, for sure. He's definitely making more money this way.
If you're in politics, you have to play too many games with too many people, and that's not him.
No, that's not him at all. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah. Bring a couple points. So yeah, a lot of small businesses are complaining because of Amazon is costing them to undercut. So they said that 50% of online searches for consumer goods starts on Amazon. 50%. So that means that people look, they want to see what the prices are, they want to see the reviews, and they go from there. So if you're a consumer and you may be, or it's your product on your website, you charge maybe $2 or $3 more. They see it on Amazon, they're going to purchase from Amazon. So you're going to lose that money. So this is a big problem that they're having. Another problem is that Amazon is creating their own consumer products. So, right, Angie?
And then they dictate us what to eat. And so on,
yeah, right.
Kindle's a classic example.
Tell us more, Dave.
Well, it's that basically it's a book. It's a device that reads all kinds of books. Electronically. You got your books handy?
Yeah, it's over there.
Well, everybody here knows what a Kindle is, aren't they?
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. You guys know Kindle, right? Kindle? Everyone knows?
I have my books on Kindle now.
Yeah.
You decide you need a new book at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, you get it downloaded in 5 minutes. Or also, you're lying in bed trying to read a book at 11 o'clock at night, and the book weighs 8 pounds like Brent does. The heck with this, you buy it and put it on your Kindle.
And you don't need a bookmark.
Do you like it, Dixie and David? Do you guys like your Kindle better than books? You do?
Oh,
I don't
absolutely, yes.
No,
but
I'd rather hold a book.
Okay.
But I don't do 500 pages of Grant.
That's a lot to read, 500 or 300.
More than 800.
800, whatever it is. But Amazon it makes it just too easy to shop.
Yeah.
And I really dislike it, but I do it. There you go.
I don't get my daily newspaper on my Kindle.
Classic example. I needed some contact cement. Okay. And I'm thinking, do I want to drive over to Home Depot and get that?
Especially during
this
COVID.
And it's $5 some change on Amazon, delivered the next day.
Wow.
I don't have to drive to Home Depot. I don't have to park. I don't have to look around the store to try to find it, which is impossible usually. And then I have to wait in line at a cash register to pay for it. It's just so much more efficient. Orders of magnitude more efficient.
It's hard to argue with that, you guys, because, if he were to go to Home Depot, he pays for gas. So you have to factor in the gas. You have to factor in time, have to factor in. So Amazon does make it easier to get the same product without having to leave your home, right? So
Home Depot is apparently doing very well financially.
They're not doing very well?
They are doing very well.
Oh, they are. Okay. Well, everyone's staying at home and doing projects that they had no time for, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the pros and cons with Amazon. And you guys made a point. I think somebody made a point that if you live in remote areas, I think Dixie, it was you, that you can get products, and that's because some of the I try to Google some of the furthest places. So in Dubai and in India, they were having trouble getting packages out there. But what they started to do is they have drones now that are delivering packages so it doesn't matter where you are, they can get a drone out there and to deliver that package without having someone to ride out there. So that's incredible, some of the stuff that they're doing right now. There's another thing that they try to launch because You guys know that people are stealing packages. You're leaving your packages and people kind of stealing them. Kind of unfortunate. Yeah, you know about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they invented something called Amazon Key, which is something you have to pay for it. So it's $250, but you install it, right? And then when you get your packages, the person who's delivering your packages from Amazon, they kind of scan their code. They can scan the code, which will give them access to your door. They go and they paste a package in, close the door, and then they leave. What do you guys think about that?
Sounds very complicated.
Do it.
Who do you find in the house?
So there were, huh?
He's been playing around with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he gets into that business, maybe we can get payback with Big Farm. Maybe.
Okay. David mentioned that I try to do a compilation of all the businesses they're in. I just couldn't. There's so many. David mentioned pharmaceuticals. They're starting to get into that. That's one area that they're getting into. Let's talk about the web service, because this, I think, is really what took Amazon over the edge, because they were having trouble turning a profit. Their profits doesn't come from books, you guys. That's third, even fourth. Their main source of income is what they call AWS, and that's cloud service, cloud computing. Amazon is offering cloud computing to some of the biggest names out there, okay? Netflix is completely run on Amazon's cloud computing. The CIA is using Amazon's cloud to run their services. ESPN, BBC, TNT, LinkedIn, Facebook, they're all using Amazon cloud. This is how far reaching this company is, and they're not afraid to go into different territories. So really, they're a tech company now. They're not even a book company anymore. You can't think about it that way.
Does somebody else have a cloud?
Oh yeah, Microsoft has a cloud. Yeah, there are a couple. The two main players right now is Amazon and Microsoft right now. So Amazon lost out to Microsoft because the Department of Defense, they were bidding against each other, and Microsoft won that contract. So they kind of sued Microsoft because they felt like it wasn't fair. But basically 71% of their profit comes from computing, web computing services, 71% of their profits. They made $75 billion last quarter, $75 billion on cloud computing, okay? This is where their money is coming from. Incredible. They're also into movies. They purchased IMBD. You guys know Amazon is making movies now?
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't know they owned IMBD, though. That's interesting.
Again, you guys missed the talk, David, where I was saying how businesses now, or their business models, are not just one thing anymore. They're branching out in different areas, kind of like Apple did, or Elon Musk with Tesla, using that and now going into space. You're not sticking with one thing anymore. I mentioned that there are 108 different countries. I mentioned that before. They want to send 3,200 satellites into space. 3,200.
Satellites.
So that's going to be 1,000 more satellites that there currently are right now in the entire world. So 3,200 satellites into space, okay? They also do facial recognition. They sell facial recognition to police departments. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, Naomi, had you heard about that? Or
yeah, but there's been some problems with that. Right,
some ethics problems and stuff like that, right? Yeah. But isn't this crazy that this company is all over? It's just mind-boggling for me to see how they're willing to go into different sectors of our population, society, and kind of dominate in a sense. So we're going to wrap it up. Do you guys have a few more minutes? I want to show you something with Amazon. Alexa, who has Alexa? You guys use Alexa? You guys do? Okay. So you guys are all into Amazon, Naomi and David. Joan, you too?
I hate it.
It's just a toy.
Just a toy?
There's a present here. Here's a toy.
It's a toy.
Checking the weather in the morning, and we use it for turning on and off our entrance light.
I listen to the radio on it.
Well, it's the same thing.
It is convenient. And Joan, what did you want to say about that?
It was given to Thomas, and we're still not used to using it at all.
Okay.
It's a slow learning process. And then if you try to even say her word, out loud, she's in another area.
Yeah, you don't want to say.
And there's certain sentences she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
You have to say end or stop, but you can't say finish. I mean, it's just a whole learning curve for us.
Right. Like you're learning her and she's trying to learn you also.
Yeah, right.
So,
Exactly.
let's watch this. It's a few minutes and then we'll wrap it up with this. Let's see. Where are we? We're here. Let me go ahead and
Learning curve for both of us, right?
okay, let's go there. Let's see.
I wonder if she turned on by hearing his name.
The voice no.
Okay. You guys can see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
The voice known as Alexa would embed Amazon deeper into the lives of millions of people.
Alexa, what do you do?
I can play music, answer questions, get the news and weather.
They call it a personal assistant. And just that term implies this intimate connection that we then begin to develop with Amazon.
Alexa, sing the ABC song.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
I believe that when we think about the future and the future with artificial intelligence, given where we currently are today, Alexa in some ways represents the moment that it becomes seamlessly interwoven with our lives.
Alexa, how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon?
1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons.
Okay.
And the problem is that we forget that it's there.
Alexa, lights on.
But Alexa is also listening, and she's learning.
I'm answering questions and learning more.
And that helps Amazon in the race to dominate artificial intelligence.
Alexa. And every time you ask Alexa something, you're making the Alexa algorithm better. It's one of the reasons why Amazon, having had a head start, is able to kind of preserve that head start because they've got the most data of anyone.
Alexa is one more way for Amazon to gather extremely valuable data, and this data collection is extremely important to this business model. It's extremely hard to do, and convincing people to just deploy something like this in their home is a brilliant trick.
Dave Limp is Amazon's head of devices.
How is it that you convinced tens of millions of people to put what is essentially a listening device in their homes?
Well, I would first disagree with the premise. It's not a listening device. The device in its core it has a detector on it. We call it internally a wake word engine. And that detector is listening, not really listening, it's detecting one thing and one thing only, which is the word you've said that you want to get the attention of that echo.
Once the device is awake and the blue light is on, it's recording. And last year, it was revealed that Amazon employs thousands of people around the world to listen and transcribe some of those recordings to help train the system.
Do you think that you did a good enough job of disclosing that to consumers, that there are humans involved in listening to these recordings?
We try to articulate what we're doing with our products as clearly as we can. But if I could go back in time and I could be more clear and the team could be more clear on how we were using human beings to annotate a small percentage of the data, I would, for sure. What I would say, though, is that once we realized that customers didn't clearly understand this, and within a couple days, we added an opt-out feature so that customers could turn off annotation if they so chose. And then within a month or two later, we allowed people to auto-delete data, which they also asked for within that time frame. We're not going to always be perfect, but when we make mistakes, I think the key is that we correct them very quickly on behalf of customers.
But even one of the founders of Amazon Web Services approaches his Alexa devices with caution.
When do you turn off your Alexa?
I turn off my Alexa when I know for a fact that the conversation that I'm going to have or whenever I just want to have a private moment. I don't want certain conversations to be heard by humans. Conversations that I know for a fact are not things that should be shared. Then I actually turn off those particular listening devices.
We've had an incredible year. The team has invented a lot on behalf of customers, and I cannot wait to show you what we have.
So far, Limp and his team have made Alexa compatible with more than 100,000 products.
Echo Frames allow you to get done more around you and be more present in the everyday.
Now, they're going to know more about you than anyone knows. They're trying to move as intimately as possible, as quietly as possible, into everyday life.
Echo Loop is a smart ring packed with ways to stay on top of your day.
Amazon wants to have the entire environment essentially mic'd.
Alexa, start my running playlist.
They want your walk in the park. They want your run down the city street.
Nationwide's teamed up with Amazon to bring you the all-new Echo Auto.
They want what you do in your car. They want what you do in your home.
Amazon Smart Oven.
Alexa, bake for 30 minutes at 350 degrees.
All these intimacies, all this insight is being integrated, analyzed and integrated.
Alexa, alarm off.
That is an extraordinary kind of power that has never before existed.
Okay. All right. What are your thoughts?
Leave me alone.
David, Naomi, I don't know if this ever happened to you. I've heard some people and online also that they'll have innocuous conversation. Let's say they're talking about baseball gloves, just with their friends. They log on and all of a sudden there's these ads for baseball gloves. And they're saying
all the time, all the time.
So it's listening. It's constantly listening.
Well, things show up on my computer for ads. From listening.
It isn't just Alexa.
You don't say anything important enough to care.
It's actually fairly convenient when I'm looking for something like contact cement,
And that's the key, is that they want to make it as convenient as possible. You can have the conversation. Alexa knows what you want already and has it prepared for you when you go online. That's really interesting. Dixie, what did you say?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you were mentioning something. Yeah. So some of the plans, we'll wrap it up with this. Some of the plans, what they want to do is have Alexa into almost as many hotels as they can, so that the temperature can be set the way you like to. You come in and say, Alexa, turn the lights on. Alexa, run the shower. Alexa, turn the TV on. So that's one of the plans that they want to do, so that it could be this personal assistant that follows you wherever you go. They want to create like a little button that'll be like a little small Alexa you put on. I know, Angie, but this is this is the.
No.
And when you. This is where we're headed, though, and it's very interesting. Yeah, I'm not crazy about it, but yeah, it is very convenient. They also say if you go shopping, they want to put Alexa in the different stores so that you can, basically your Alexa will already know what you want, will communicate with the other Alexa, and you'll know exactly, Alexa, where are the shirts that I asked for?
Where are the strawberries?
Where are the strawberries?
That'd be very convenient in a place like Vons or Ralph's.
That's true, because it's so large, right? Yeah, Again, there was pros and cons to everything, you guys. So we'll see. But thank you for joining me. I know it's kind of ran over, but there was so much to cover. This is Amazon. This is where they're at. Again, the next move where he's kind of putting all his resources is going to the moon. He was the first person to create rockets that you can reuse. So now that's going to lower the cost. And he wants to colonize the moon and have people in these huge floating islands, he says, these huge floating islands in space. So
where do you think Amazon will be in 100 years or 50 years?
If they don't implode, if they don't get too large, I really could see them as one of the major players in society. It kind of reminds me of, when Carnegie and, Morgan and those guys created the industry.
Standard Oil.
Standard Oil, yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is the next revolution between him and Elon Musk and David Zuckerberg. Again, so I feel like that's going to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I hope you guys had fun and enjoyed it. Thank you. Good to see you guys again. I miss you, Naomi, Dave. Thank you, Dixie. Bye, Angie. Nice haircut, Naomi. I like it.
Oh, it's just all pinned back.
Oh, okay. It looks like a haircut. All right, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye, Alexa. See ya. Just kidding. All right. Bye, you guys.
Keep in touch.